Well, more now on the worrying new survey that reveals almost half of teenage boys don't talk to their dads when they're depressed, they're under stress, or even feeling suicidal.
Well, one of the reasons, they say, is that fathers are often unwilling to talk about their own mental health, and they pass that attitude on to their sons. Joining us now is psychologist Emma Kenny. You've got 2 boys of your own, Emma.
I've got 2 boys.
Is it something you've noticed from your boys, that they're less reticent to speak to their dad than they are to you about their emotions?
I mean, I think that because I'm a really emotionally literate woman and I've spent my life kind of thinking about emotions, I don't think Dad gets a look in to a degree. So to be fair to men, I think sometimes us mums like to draw it out of our children. I've definitely noticed as they've hit teenagehood that their mental health has changed and that they're suffering more from issues around anxiety, stress and depression. The problem per se with men, biggest killer under 50 is suicide. So we know that men struggle with mental health, but primarily one of the problems that we've got is there are still schemas around what's acceptable for boys versus girls. So girls are expected to talk about their issues. Boys very readily are told, maybe don't feel that emotional, maybe it's not that great to express your emotions in certain circumstances. So from an early age, it can kind of compound that feeling that they shouldn't talk about mental health. With fathers per se, if, like you duly noted, they're getting to a point in their life where they haven't dealt with their own stress, anxiety, depression, mental health issues per se, then when it comes down to speaking to your child, the last thing anybody wants is to believe their child is struggling. So that in itself causes a block. The primary issue with this kind of research is to get across that the more we explain the way that we feel, the more we talk to our children about the way that they feel, the more likely they are to be able to confide in you. And that's the issue very often with teenage boys, and I'm sure that anybody out there who's got teenage boys will know. If you say to them, "How are you doing?" they'll be like, "I'm fine." It's going beneath that and starting to draw out what you notice about their behaviours that maybe says they're not fine.
And it is a bit of a minefield for parents, isn't it? Because, you know, especially when they get to a certain age, as you say, they're reluctant to talk about it. It does need the right approach. So, you know, for dads who are watching you are thinking, oh, how on earth do I go about even sort of scratching beneath that surface? You know, what's the best way for them to approach that?
I mean, majorly for men, know that as a man, you're a role model. So your son may not necessarily be coming to you to talk about emotions, but actually the fact that you're their father means that essentially they're going to learn from your actions. So all you need to do is get involved in a conversation. You know, acknowledge how they look and how they seem to be feeling. Talk about their friendship groups, talk about the social media, talk about the issues that they're facing at school. It's not always the conversation that goes, "I'm feeling depressed, Dad." It's the, "I'm not sure how I'm feeling." What we've got to accept as well is that teenagers often don't know how they feel. They need you to identify it. So children will often say that they feel angry as teenagers, but actually beneath that is frustration, stress, worry. And only through conversations, whether it's going to the football with them and having a conversation, whether it's taking them out for a coffee, whether it's going for a walk side by side so that you're kind of having that conversation in a non-confrontational way. But most of all, it's accepting that it's far better for your child to have that conversation and say, "I am feeling down," because you have something practical you can do. Don't avoid. Very often we withdraw or avoid because we don't want to see our children's pain. But it's when we see it that we can do something constructive about it.
Which was refreshing to actually see the list and know that I was suffering from something, but at the same time to be enduring so many things at such a young age